Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk about force-time relationship. So what we're trying to look after is how much of force an athlete can develop in short duration of time. And why do we need to talk about this topic? The reason is bodybuilder, they lift huge amount of weight, but the time that they take to lift that much of weight is quite big. But for an athlete to produce a lot of force, he doesn't have that much of time. He doesn't have 1 or 2 seconds. He has less than a second or milliseconds, a couple of milliseconds, because he needs to sprint fast, he needs to react fast, he needs to, like in a flash, he just needs to move. So for that, he should be able to have a high rate of force development. What is high rate of force development? So basically, a high rate of force development is how much of force a human can produce in very short duration of time. So for clarification, we will just see the graph. So here's the graph, and in the graph, as you can see, on the y-axis we have the force in Newton, and in the x-axis we have time in milliseconds. So the blue line represents a strength-based athlete and the orange line represents speed-based athlete. So the first thing that you're going to look after is the speed-based athlete. So the moment we see both of these lines, the first thing that we can make out is the orange line is much steeper than the blue line, which is the strength-based athlete. So what does that mean? It means that the speed-based athlete, he's able to produce a lot of force in very short duration of time. So if we were to compare the blue guy whose bar is like the line is steeper, but it's not as steep as the orange guy, so he takes quite a bit of time to reach the same amount of force as the orange guy. So therefore there is a clear difference in the amount of rate of force development of both the athletes. So as you saw in the graph, there is quite a bit of difference in the way how each of the individuals, the bodybuilder and the athlete, how they produce force in different manner. It's very obvious that an individual who is just training purely for strength, he will lift more weight or have more strength than the other guy, the speed training guy or the athlete. But it's not the requirement of an athlete to produce a lot of force. He needs to produce a lot of force, but it has to be very quick. An athlete needs to produce a lot of force, but that force has to be continuous. Like suppose a footballer, he's sprinting, so each and every stride that he takes, it has to produce almost equivalent force throughout his sprint, and it has to be as high as possible in order to maintain his sprint speed. Because during acceleration, yes, okay, initial phase, that is acceleration, you can put a lot of force, but the ability to continue that amount of force throughout your sprint is what differs between an athlete and or a normal guy or a bodybuilder. So that's the basic difference. And coming on to the next part that I wanted to talk a little bit about was like there are so many footballers, and for current generation, I think one of the muscular footballers in English Premier League is Adam Traore. So this guy is a beast. He's so huge, he runs fast, he accelerates fast, he bullies his opponent because he can do it. He's very muscular, but the only downside is being so muscular, he has only a limited number of sprints compared to other persons. So like if we were to consider the type of body he has with other athletes in the same English Premier League, so let's take Marcus Rashford, so many other players. I'm a Man U fan, that's why these Man U name comes up in my mind. So yeah, so all these players, they are muscular, but they are not as muscular as him, but they can sustain throughout the game, or they are much efficient in sustaining throughout the game as compared to Traore. That's because he is very big. It is metabolically taxing to the guy, because body requires a lot of calories to be able to sustain that much of muscle mass. Athlete, he needs to incorporate both strength training and speed training so he can get benefit of both the sides. So the more muscular you are, the more amount of force you need to exert into the ground in order to move yourself faster. So that's why there's a trade-off, how much muscle you can have for optimal performance. And there is, like, obviously it is good to have huge amount of muscle, but if it's not making you efficient in your sport, then it's of no use. Like if we compare 3 different sports, completely different, a footballer, a bodybuilder and a marathoner, like everyone has muscles, it's just the different quantities of muscle and which suits the most to their sporting requirements. So it's all about the needs, so work according to your needs. All these exercises have to be multiplanar. Why multiplanar? Because sport movements happens in all the plane. You jump, you rotate, you twist, you turn, you go backward, forward, sideways. So all kind of motion, you have to mimic those to get the maximum benefits. So I hope this video helped you out, and if not, then let me know what can I do in future to help you understand these concepts much better, so you can incorporate all these in your training. And until then, I'll see you in the next video, and bye bye.